So I'm here to talk about hypothermia. It's a non-chemical way. So what is hypothermia? Well, you get a fever. You're above your temperature. Some people mistake it for freezing. That's hypothermia. So we got that straight. We're going with temperature. So where does it fit in with the IPM? Pyramid. Why do they call it a pyramid? It's a triangle. And it's different levels. Now, the original IPM triangle included prevention. And Australia did brilliantly at that forever until 22. Damn. So we don't have prevention anymore. As someone said earlier, Western Australia think that they might get away with it. Fingers crossed. So we have the other side. So we've got cultural controls. That's where our breeders come in and make bees that are varroa resistant. And the queen breeders are working hard at that now. And they might invite you, if you've got 20 hives or so, they might invite you to join the program. They'll send you good quality queens. You let her make new queens and get them to breed with local drone stock. Then you send those back for assessment to quickly get our varroa resistant queens. So keep your eye open for that. That's fantastic. Then we go up to physical and mechanical, your screen bottom boards, sticky mats and things like that. Great. Now with these triangles, the higher you go up, generally the higher the cost and the lower the manpower. But it's not 100% that way, it's roughly that way. And biological, that's really exciting. The boffins, I love scientists. They get in their lab coats or their bee suits and they get out there and come up with amazing things, like you've seen the pseudo-scorpion videos where they just reach out and grab hold of a mite and bring it in and start eating. And they've got another nipper and they go up and grab another one and hang on to that one till they're finished feeding on it. Works great in the lab. But when they get the bucket full of these and throw them into a real hive in the field, those little pseudo-scorpions find bee eggs and young larvae tastier. So that didn't work. But stay tuned, because it's just a matter of research and getting it happen. And that will be exciting when it happens. And fungi and things like that. The scientists are working hard at coming up with other solutions. But at the top of the pyramid, and this is meant to be the area of last resort, the chemicals, because you've got that potential contamination of wax and honey and cost. These things are, and they're poisons. The synthetic ones, they're class 5s and class 6, I think. Poison. Do you want to have that in your hive? Personally, I don't, and I haven't used one of those yet. I'm from high infestation area, and I've gotten away with only losing 12 hives. So there is a cost for going chemical free. So where are we? We're in the physical mechanical one with hypothermia. And so that's where it fits in. Is it a fad? The big question. I've been told for years and years that hypothermia doesn't work. It's a con, it's a gimmick, forget it. And particularly in the US, when I asked at University of Florida, they said, oh no, it doesn't work. It's been tried and it's failed, forget it. But there is science. It's been researched since the 1970s. Russia was right into it. And they had a group of scientists did a lot of research. In 1978, I think their papers came out. And Japan and Europe quite big into it. And from all of the research that's been going over for decades, we know that the varroa reproduction is optimised for 33 degrees Celsius. Why is that? Apis cerana's brood temperature is 33 degrees. What does this tell us? Well, at 35 degrees, our favourite bee's brood temperature, that's 2 degrees higher. So they're automatically already at a little bit of stress just by operating out of their comfort zone. What else do we know? At 41 degrees, varroa the reproduction starts failing. The foundress mite is okay, but her offspring fail. So this is good to know. At 42 degrees, all varroa die. So you think, okay, let's heat them up, kill all the varroa. Unfortunately, drone pupae, our bees, also fail at 42 degrees. And you might be of the old school that think, well, drones don't matter. They really do. Bees have survived and thrived for millions of years because of one thing, genetic diversity. We always have been taught that a queen mates with, 12 to 30, 35 drones. So that's genetic diversity, but in more recent research, that's been upped to 50 to 70. So that's a massive genetic diversity going on there. So each of those fathers has particular traits, and there's all these dormant alleles that could surface for a problem to come into the future. So if you reduce your genetic stock, you might miss out on a future problem that we have. We don't have those dormant alleles. So we want to keep our drones going. So make sure you produce plenty. That's the end of that lecture. All developing bees die between 43 and 45. So anything above that, on a really hot summer day for a prolonged period, you could lose bees. So, well, is it a fad? No, there's a lot of research, a lot of knowledge. So we've got to put that knowledge to work. Drone fertility. This is something else that's important. So we have our volunteer drones. They were treated at 41 degrees for 2 hours. This has been condensed down from lots of research that has had 3 hours at this and 2 hours at that and 1 hour at that and 5, and lots of it condensed down to this magic 41 degrees for 2 hours. And that will become understood in a little while. So at 12 days after emerging, drones are the teenagers. They're ready for action and they want to act. So we heated up the frames of Druid, the scientists did, at 41 degrees for 2 hours, and then over at 13 days and 16 days and 19 days, they sampled sperm to do a sperm count. Now, obviously, it's easy for a mammal to donate on those separate days, and it could be quite a pleasure to do so. However, for insects, not so pleasurable. These guys die each time, so they're donating their life for science, which is very, very good of them. So what did we find? No significant effect on the sperm count. So that makes 41 degrees for 2 hours a good number to go for. Queen fertility. Now, if you buy your queens from somewhere and get it mailed to you, you may have had the experience where you've got your queen and you've put her to work and she's a dud. Now, don't sling off at the queen breeder. They were coming up with good stock. I know a bunch of queen breeders and they're pretty dedicated, like us beekeepers. They're dedicated for a good product. And there's been a company that's tracked queens through the mailing system to see what happens. And it could be that on the way to you, it sat in the back of a truck, in the car park, in the blistering sun all day along the way. And she keeps sperm alive in her spermatheca, and if she's affected by that, not so good. So studies have suggested that there's this ideal temperature range that she can keep it going well for with, plus or minus 38 degrees. That's the important one there. There's a difference there between 41 and 38. So we don't want to do that. She's got a tolerance in this good range of 11.5%. That was more science. So moral of story, don't treat the queen. There'll be a reason for that shortly. So there's various devices. I'm racing through. Hopefully I'll get through in time. There's various devices for heating the whole hive. Okay, and this is where things have gone awry over the years. There's been ones that you can put a device on a frame, hook up a battery, heat it up, and they came on the market with a blistering aware, look, this is fantastic, it's going to save you, no chemicals, and then they disappear because they didn't work. Something went wrong. But this is an interesting one. This is bee ethic. Each frame has a heating element in it, and you see over here a device to make your own foundation. So you embed that heater in the wax to create a foundation. So that's kind of labour intensive. You're doing this yourself. And then with an app and solar heat and all that sort of thing, it heats up the frames directly. Interesting device. Expensive. You're going to do this in every single hive. What else? There's the bee sauna. And there's a couple of different bee saunas in the world. There's an Irish beekeeper that comes up with a bee sauna, and his idea is to, at night time, when all the bees are in the hive, shake off the bees into a container with a funnel and then put the container into a hot box, a sauna, and he heats the whole lot up for a period. I thought, wow, and he does this in Irish cold, which is, I think, even colder than Victorian cold. And what do we know about mites? 80% of them are under the caps. So he's getting 20% for all of that effort, and we're going to have more. So I'm not sure I'm keen on doing that one. But this other one, what we see is, I think it's an Austrian-German device where you have a modified base so you can slide in the heater unit from hive to hive. So you buy a bunch of different bases, one for each hive, and you move the heating element across to each hive. This is what it physically looks like, and there's a bottle of water down there to maintain the right humidity at the 41 degrees. Still kind of labour intensive, but it is further down the IPM triangle. And this one's an interesting one. This is only just coming out for crowdfunding. They've got papers to support their efficacy. I might even buy one to try it out. And if you get in early enough, it's only $795 US. So that's about 1,200, I think, for each. Sorry. For each hive, plus shipping. So, yeah, it could be an interesting one. And it's all solar powered and hooks up to your app so you can monitor it remotely. Fantastic. Got AI and it knows when to start heating the hive, save you the trouble. So what's wrong with heating the hive? The queen's exposed. What do we know about queens? She's going to lose her efficacy. So, her sperm will be dead. So soon after treatment, they'll replace her. Great. Possibly replace her. We can't say in science for definite things. So, I'm not a scientist, by the way, so I can. So what do bees do when it gets hot? They go out of the hive. All the excess bees pour outside and all the other bees inside flap their little wings to cool it down. Other bees paint the surfaces with water to cool it with evaporative cooling. So that's quite stressful. They work really hard to get it to 35 degrees. And that stresses, what do we know about stressed bees? They live a shorter period of time. That's not good. So I don't like that idea. It shortens their lifespan. So there's these other devices that heat up just the brood frame. Interestingly, this is how it was done in the lab. They always heated just the brood, not the brood with the bees. And so the results are consistent this way. So these machines, that's phenomenal. There's 250,000 of these out there in the market in the US. And that's a pallet, so like they use forklifts to move these around and take them to the orchards. And they are robotic. That beekeeper doesn't need to do anything. It's all monitored with AI and computers and got a robotic arm that comes along, picks up the frame, shakes the bees off, put them in the heat chamber, treat them, pick them up, put them back. So what's a beekeeper going to do? He's got to pay the lease, because you can't buy these things. They're so expensive, you've got to lease it from the company to put it out into the orchard. So that's another operation. Personally, I prefer to do beekeeping. I don't want to run a machine. I love machines, but I'm a beekeeper because I want to be a beekeeper. But cool. They haven't reached Australia yet. And we'll get to this one. This is another one where you specifically remove the bees from the brood. You open up the lid. We happen to have the varroa controller people in the room, so go talk to them after. You open up the lid, or when you start it, you set it up, you put water in there for humidity, and you set the temperature, brings it up to 35 degrees. Then you go to your hives, get the frames of brood, shake the bees off, fully capped brood, and then put them in the box. And there's a temperature probe, because temperature is so important in these devices. And you spear that through the middle frame in the brood, so it's monitoring the temperature of the actual brood, not the air around it. And then the air circulates and it brings it up. When you hit the go button, it rapidly brings it up to 41.5 degrees. Now, there's a test at the end of this. You won't be allowed to go to lunch until you pass. So you hit the go button and it heats them up for 2 hours. And then the beeper goes off. You can make a cup of coffee and check the other bees, all sorts of other things. And then you come back in 2 hours, pull the frames out, put them back into the hive. I bought one of these. I know it works. I'm not associated with them, but they're friends. So I know it works in my area. I'm not using chemicals. I'm using this thing. And it is consistently good. There is some caveats. It's expensive. I'll get to that. I've dropped past my speed. So I'll go through the advantages of hypothermia. No chemicals, which means no residues. 5 minutes. 5 minutes? I'll whip through for questions. There's no APVMA approval required because it's mechanical. And there's no chance of resistance. The bees are only being treated as pupae once in their lifetime. After that, no more treatment, unless it's one of the whole hive ones that personally I'm not keen on. Supers can stay on. As Liz said, a lot of these treatments that you have, you've got to take the supers off. What are you going to do if you've got a full flow? That makes it difficult. These ones, you lift the supers off, get the brood, treat them, put the supers back, but you're not missing out on a flow. There's no ongoing costs. With chemicals, you'll be paying and paying and paying and paying. With this one, you pay once, hurt once, and the only ongoing cost is paper towels to put on the bottom to keep it clean and demineralised water. I think we can afford that. And it has been developed with scientific data. Disadvantages, of course, there is. It costs a lot of dough. These things are thousands and thousands of dollars. But we can get by that. If you're in a club, my club bought one, and we get the members to bring in their brood frames and treat them at the club apiary, and then they take them back. Capped brood is very, very stable. You can put it in an esky, bring it along, treat it. It's already hot then, take it back. So the individual beekeeper isn't up for the big money then. The club does. And the club can get a grant from places like the RSL. And our club got ours paid for. 95% of it was paid for by the RSL. And we get them out and suit them up, take them into the bees. They think it's great. So think about that. It can be labour intensive. Yeah, it takes time to shake off the bees and put them in, but the upside is you're not using chemicals, which you've got to get in there and apply anyway, so there's a labour involved with all of that. Is it new? Is it a fad? These things have been around since, 2014 in commercial, European commercial use. Commercial over there is hundreds of hives, not thousands, and the same machine bought that long ago is still working right now. So that's a long-term capital investment, but great return. And it needs power, a generator, solar, or if you're in the backyard, a cord out from the laundry.